What is going on, guys? If you're enjoying the other day with Daryk, here's a couple things that I have been thinking about that is really awesome about this podcast. One, I use Anchor to create this podcast. It's free. The creation tools are right there, all within the app, all on your computer, where you can edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you also, so you don't have to worry about RSS feeds. You don't have to worry about how to get it there or looking at analytics on different platforms. It goes straight to Spotify and Apple and many more that you can listen to podcasts on. You make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So anybody who listens, you can make money from. If you have a ton of podcast listeners, you can make money from it. If you have just a little bit and you're starting from the bottom, now you're there. All you got to do is use Anchor. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Let me tell you how to do it. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's Anchor, ANCHOR.FM to get started. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. I can't wait to listen to your podcast. What is going on, guys? My name is Daryk Gansky, and this is the beginning of my podcast. So I am here sitting on my couch in my apartment in Southwest Austin, Texas, and just enjoying myself, trying to find something creative, find a different outlet to kind of test myself, put myself outside of the comfort zone a little bit, and see what kind of stuff I can think up. So it could be something or it could be anything. So, it's just a podcast just to kind of have a place to just talk and just see what's going on in my life and just see what's going on in the world maybe. Maybe if something happened with my friends or if I've been thinking about something weird or different or out of the ordinary or anything, but just literally the most basic sense of putting thoughts to voice and seeing maybe what people think about it. So it's kind of an interesting topic just to start off with. Kind of mulling around a few things to title this podcast as, but the one that is stuck in my head the other day was actually that phrase itself. The other day, I really like that idea and that topic. I'm a huge fan of Theo Vaughn and his comedy and thinking about his podcast this past weekend and talking about his this past weekend. Also a huge fan of comedy and obviously huge podcasts like Joe Rogan or Your Mom's House with Tom Segura and Christina Prusinski. All of those, The Fighter and the Kid, Brendan Schaub, The King and the Sting, Theo and Brendan. Just a bunch of podcasts, man. And so, just trying to start something different, trying to think about something interesting and just see what comes of it. So I will be trying to compile a list each week of just random things that I think about or things that I think are interesting to think about or things that I think are funny or things that I think are scary or depressing or happy or joyful or fun, anything and everything under the sun that happens could be interesting. Maybe you'll relate, maybe you won't with those thoughts. Just trying to get them into recording. And I think that recording is such a cool medium because I've tried writing, I've tried video, I've tried editing and producing things before and haven't had a whole lot of success with that because of the time it takes to put in on just putting those ideas into that medium. Recording audio is something that just is stream of consciousness. It just comes out. It just is what it is, and it just is always there. And it's something you can write jokes from. That's kind of after taking a comedy class, thinking about how to write jokes. Just kind of looking at how I would write best. Maybe it's on paper, maybe it's on a tablet, maybe it's on my computer, but I think I can't get what I'm thinking out unless I just say it. And so here I am, just saying it. And so with that being said, one of the jokes that I've been thinking on for a while is one that actually just came back into my life this past weekend, which is really, really cool. And I can't figure out the ending punchline to it. But anyways, here it goes. I was in high school and I drove up to my grandparents' new house in Kansas. They live in southeast Kansas, and we drove about 10 hours from Texas up to Kansas, and we were staying with them for 3 days. And if you have ever thought about it, grandparents' houses are always weird. Like, they always have old sentimental things that have some meaning to the grandparent or to the family, and it's always strange to see those things. So walking into the house, I was feeling like, this is old school. They're old school Italian, so they have like sculptures, they have Catholic crosses, they have an old dog. Like, every single time that I see an old married couple that's, past retirement and they're living kind of their last days, they always have an old dog that's usually pretty small, usually pretty disgusting, and not the most fun to be around. But yeah, that old dog is always there, and I hate it. Like, it barks too much. It's just annoying. It's not like a normal dog that you can work with quite a bit and have a lot of fun with when you're younger, because you just don't have the energy. That dog is just around, and it just eats what the old person eats. And so it is what it is. It's an old dog. And so anyways, I'm in Kansas, and I'm staying with my parents in my grandparents' house. And we're having a good time. They take us around Kansas, and my parents show me a bunch of the old areas that my mom grew up in, and where my grandpa raised her, and where, my dad has been when he was up there and visiting my mom and whatnot, and things like where my grandparents met and things like that, which was really awesome. But one of the things that really creeped me out was all of those statues. I stayed in this room that I was terrified the minute I walked into. I stayed in this old room, and it had that mothball smell to it, the smell that is just unpleasant. And anyways, there was this reading nook, and if that sounds foreign to you, like, a reading nook is literally like a little section of a room that maybe sticks out of the room. I was on a second story, so the second story had a window that overlooked the front yard, and it had a bust statue in it. A bust statue is like from the neck up of a figure, and it was like an old Roman figure. And this room has given me, like, it just gave me chills immediately when I walked into it. It was awkward. It smelled bad. It had closets that. There was literally a closet that had a door that wrapped around the side of the room, so it turned a corner. It was so deep. You opened the door and you could walk around the corner of the room. So there were just dark holes of this house that were just odd to me. Not saying it's a bad house. I'm just saying that, it's a house that was just strange. It just had strange feelings to it. And anyways, I was going to sleep that night and obviously had bad night's sleep. Like, normally when I sleep in different places, I don't sleep well when I'm not home. Another thing about me, I love to sleep in my own bed. Let's get this stuff wrapped up. Let's get home. I'm ready to go to sleep in my bed. So anyways, I am in this room trying to fall asleep, and I start thinking about ghosts naturally. And so I'm wondering if you believe in ghosts. If you believe in ghosts, feel free to let me know. But if you believe in ghosts, I think that I'm not too sure about ghosts, but I think ghosts may be gay. And so I think, why would they be gay? What is going on with that? Why do I think that? And well, the reason why I say that is because when you get haunted, aren't you haunted by, like, these weird beings that just want to, like, be around you, be inside of you, like, and possess you kind of thing. And like, and that just kind of is weird. Like, I get the entire sexuality movement and whatnot. Like, do what you want to do. I don't necessarily care. Like, if you're happy, I'm happy kind of thing. And yeah, you should have similar rights if you fall in love. It's hard enough to fall in love anyways. So, be happy, I guess. Anyways, I had this strange thought about like ghosts, and I ended up staying in this room with my mom and my dad. They snored really bad, and so they didn't want to sleep in the same room. And so my dad slept in this other room, and I remember laughing so hard with my mom about gay ghosts. And am fascinated by why I thought ghosts could be gay and what they would say. Like, what would they say? First of all, it's, naturally ingrained in us to think of being a little kid in a haunted house and ghosts coming out of the closet, right? There's your first pun. A ghost coming out of the closet could be a gay ghost. And so that was super interesting to me. I was just like, why isn't a ghost gay? Why ghosts should be gay? They, are these like spirits that come out and they're just like, boo. I don't know. Like, it's a very odd thing to me. Or if they're not gay, like, what are they? Like, are they possessed by their, like, earthly body? Do they have religious aspects? Do they have maybe cultural or racial aspects to them? Or do they have, I don't know, like anything? It could be, it would be something to kind of just think on and think more on. But that's, again, the other day I was thinking about ghosts and gay ghosts. So yeah, that's kind of thought number one. And then I was just kind of thinking about like, well, like, who are ghosts? Like, who am I? Like, and so one of the things is like, I was trying to think about who I am and what kind of identity I've made myself. And I think that identity that I've made myself is, kind of wrapped around how I was raised. A hardworking, blue collar kind of guy that enjoys certain kind of arts, maybe. I enjoy my favorite art form is definitely comedy and stand-up comedy in particular. But I love improv. I love music, country, rap, folk, Americana, even, indie rock, anything like that is really cool to me. Just something that's kind of expressing a new perspective is pretty cool. And just thinking about that. I also love being outdoors. I'm a huge avid outdoorsman. I love to bow hunt, deer hunt, rifle hunt, love to go fishing, hiking, camping, all the things you can think of with that. But yeah, who am I? I'm a social media manager in Austin, Texas, and just kind of messing around with, being online and just trying to figure out what that looks like and what it kind of looks like. And some of the ways I think about that are, like, okay, so I could be a number in the internet system and a number in the world, but really, do we have numbers? Like, what does that mean? Like, what I don't know, just a lot of I don't knows, a lot of what is, a lot of what does that means, and just really just kind of open to thinking about the world and just thinking about what it looks like. I grew up playing sports and stuff like that. I love sports. College football is definitely my favorite medium of sports, I guess, if you will. I love friends and relationships and looking at getting older and how relationships work and taking the time to put into them and really steps to move relationships forward or move relationships apart, and things like that. So it's all kind of what ifs, and y'all will learn a lot more about me, obviously, if you're new to me. But anyways, yeah, let's go back to kind of who I am a little bit. I love stand-up comedy. stand-up comedy has really been something that I've been fascinated with. I love all the podcasts of all the comedians. I'm a huge fan of all the comedians that kind of came out of California and the Comedy Store. They're obviously dispersing all over the country now, but we got Rogan coming here to Austin. We got Joey Diaz going to New Jersey. There's a bunch of people moving around right now, and so it won't kind of have the hub like it will in LA anymore, considering Rogan, kind of the godfather of that, store, maybe not the store, that's kind of Mitzi Shore, but of that podcasting. He's definitely the godfather of that, and that's, kind of moving around the world. Anyways, and like, I've been wondering about that and wondering like what do performances look like during this time, we're in the COVID era right now, where we're all kind of keeping our distance and not performing and not doing anything for people's performance, but we still do have time to be close with close friends. Things have opened up a little bit, so we're able to maybe go get a bite to eat, and hang out and really build relationships, but you're not in a place where you can really perform and be a performer, be somebody on stage or be somebody in a film, or things like that. Films are pretty much shut down besides at-home filmmaking. And so being a performer is something that's super interesting to me, like thinking, how do you become a performer? How do you create a performance? What does that look like? And I think what I've learned from just looking at the comedians that I really enjoy is each one of them is purely themselves, and like learning that being yourself is probably the main thing to be. Like, because if you're somebody else, if you're little Charlie running down the street, buying ice cream cones and throwing them at people, then you're not yourself. You're little Charlie. Like, or if you're, Joe Rogan in a podcast studio working out, killing elk, eating elk, and talking about all of the kind of the big news and talking to big actors and political people and all that, then you're Joe Rogan. Or if you're, like Bullwinkle, and you're a cartoon and you're just outside with your flying squirrel and you're trying to protect wildfires, then you're Bullwinkle. Like, you're not yourself. You can like aspects of each one of those characters or each one of those people, but I think that all a culmination of everything that you experience in life is kind of who you are, and being a performer, to be on stage and really have something relatable for people to grasp onto. And so one of the things that, I think kind of shaped me was early on manipulating my parents. And manipulating my parents is such a weird aspect. I was thinking about that today, like how, growing up, one of the things that I used to do is be a little kid and go ask mom for a cookie maybe, and she would say no, and then I'd go to dad and be like, hey, can I have a cookie? And he'd say yes, and then I'd go back to mom and be like, well, dad said I could have a cookie, so I'm getting a cookie. And she would get mad at me because she realized what I was doing, kind of pitting them against each other. And then if the opposite happened, if dad said no and mom said yes, then I'd go back to dad and be like, well, mom knows, she's older by like 2 weeks. But as a little kid, you're like, she's older. And so I would go get my cookie and have a good old time with a chocolate chip cookie and maybe some milk. I don't know, maybe some chocolate milk. I loved that when I was growing up. But yeah, manipulating your parents when you're young is really interesting, and like what you kind of do with that. And nowadays, I am really close with my parents. They've been together since I was born, and obviously will be, as I can tell, they will be together forever, and really enjoy each other's company and have a good time with me, and am kind of at the age now where I'm realizing that age isn't really something to worry about. Like, I have deep conversations and talk to my parents about really complex things and really interesting philosophical things sometimes, and even interesting, really dumb things sometimes. And age really isn't a number when it comes to that. Like, once you kind of hit a threshold, it's kind of like, we can listen to people talk about things that are really complex and relate, even though they're far different ages than us. Like, there's comedians right now that are 20s, in their young 20s, and started being comedians when they were in their teens, and they're saying things that relate to people that are 40 or 50. There's also old comedians like Rogan, for example, that are 50s and relate to things that are I see as a 24-year-old. And so that's really kind of interesting to me, and like manipulating that. Once it opens up, it just opens up into the entire world. And so, like, one thing that I was wondering about too, and thinking about the other day, I was thinking about is language. One of my buddies is taking a Spanish class, and we were on a hike, and we were talking and getting ready to go on an elk hunt, and he texts me in Spanish, and it's like, "Hola, amigo," and he said, "Let's go hike," in Spanish, and I didn't know what that meant in Spanish by reading it. I've taken Spanish before and thought about and learned some Spanish, but I'm not fluent by any means. I can't read fluently by any means, but I was just wondering what that was, and the concept of language. Like, language is extremely fascinating to me, and I think it's cool, but I don't ever want to learn it. I don't ever want to like continue learning it. Learning language is not easy, and it's very hard. I took Italian and Spanish, and I've learned some coding and stuff like that, and so you could even draw it into people were creating code languages on the internet, which in their speak are called protocols, which could be, JavaScript, it could be CSS, it could be HTML, it could be all these sort of languages to write code in to get your computer to do something. And so there's Elven speak from the Lord of the Rings. Talk about that. Like, that is insane. A movie creator created a whole nother language for a movie called Elven, that the elves speak on this movie series. And so it's insane that people create these entire other external experiences out of just one subject. And so it's really crazy to me, language and universal language. And so I dare to ask the question, would there be one universal language in the future, and what does that look like? And the only thing that I can kind of come up with is the language of the internet. Like, people are so intact with the internet now, and I understand that there's a lot of people that may not have access to the internet, but people like Elon Musk are attempting to create global Wi-Fi and global internet access. And so in the future, there may be internet access for everybody. And so looking at that, what is the universal language going to be? What is it going to look like? Maybe it's an implant or something that we would all have, maybe it's a way to access the internet that we would just access, our internet, like implanted chip that go in your right butt cheek or something like. I have no idea like what that would look like. Maybe it's, the TikTok dance. Maybe we communicate as, a character on the internet that looks like a TikToker that is doing the shuffle or something like that. The shuffle is not on TikTok. That was it was a old party dance that was in like the early 2000s. That was ridiculous. Anyways, the language that people may be talking about in the future may be something that's not even remotely close to what it is now. It could not be English or Spanish or Italian or German or Japanese or Chinese or Russian or you name it. Like, there's so many languages out there, and there's becoming more with more programmers, and programmers are creating internet languages that computers speak. And what does that mesh look like? Where are we going to meet the point where there's one language? And even if it comes with a computer chip, you're still going to have a language that relates to the computer chip so the computer chip can operate correctly. Are we going to be talking in ones and O's? Are we going to be talking in we sure as heck aren't going to be talking in Southern slang. Like, we're not going to be on our internet chip just going, "I'll be darn, freaking Dale's out there chopping wood again." We're not going to be saying that. We're going to be talking about something completely different, because it's never ending. Like, there's never, every day is a different day. And when you, as you get older, you just realize, like, oh, I got to wake up and do this again. Like, it's a whole nother day. I got to wake up and go do stuff again. Like, and then by the end of the day, you're like, why did I do all that stuff? What is the point? Like, I don't get it, and so what's that? I don't know what it looks like. And so this is just a little bit of a taste of what this podcast could look like. I may bring on guests, or I may not, or I may try to form jokes, or I may not, or I may just try to tell stories, but we'll see what it's all about. At this point, it's called The Other Day. And the other day I was thinking about a lot of stuff. So the other day is what I'm thinking about, and this is my first podcast. So we'll see where this goes. We'll see what happens, and yeah, thank you for listening if you're listening, and hope you have a good one. Talk to you later.